Letter 3. To the monk in charge of a cellar. If you want to avoid falling into anger and resentment, try not to feel any passionate attachment to material things. Do not see any utensil as yours, nor yet despise it as cheap and of no value. If someone asks you for something, give it to him, and do not be troubled when something is broken or lost through carelessness or neglect. Evidently, you must do that not because you despise the utensils of a monastery, since you must take care of them with all your strength and eagerness, but because you want to keep yourself calm and quiet. Always offer to God what you can. You will be able to achieve this if you manage the things not as yours, but as objects of God, and if you believe that it is only the care of them which is given to you, because if you do not have a passionate attachment to something, you will not despise it. But if you do not have this aim, you can be certain that you will not cease from being disturbed and from troubling others. Letter 4. To the same. Question. Since my thought delights in these words, and I desire to put them into practice, why is it that at the appropriate time I am unable to act upon them? Reply. This is because you are not meditating on them all the time and training yourself. If you want to use them each time, you have to meditate on these things. Give yourself entirely to them, and I trust God that you will progress. Combine prayer with meditation. Serve the sick firstly in order to obtain from it sympathy, as I have said many times. Then, when you in your turn are sick, God will lift up the person who will serve you, because the Lord said, with the same measure you use, it will be measured back to you. If you try to do something consciously according to your strength, you must realize and tell yourself that you do not know the true way. You must calmly, without sorrow and with joy accept it, when you hear that you were mistaken in what you thought you had done consciously. For it is through the judgment of those more prudent than you that whatever has failed will be corrected, and that which is done well becomes assured. Try to progress so that when you have a bodily or spiritual affliction, you can endure it with patience, without sorrow, and without being overwhelmed. If you hear that you have done something which in fact you have not, do not be in any way disturbed or vexed. Immediately bow to the person who said that with humility, saying to him, "Forgive me and pray for me." Stop there, as the Father said. If you are asked by him whether it is true or not, make a bow to him in humility and tell the truth of the matter. After you have spoken, make a bow again with humility, saying, "Forgive me and pray for me." Letter 5. To the same. Question. What must I do since I am not in that same spiritual state when I meet the brothers? Reply. It is impossible to have the same inner state when you are confronted with the brothers, but at least try not to be offended by any of them, neither judge any, nor slander anyone. Also be careful not to pay attention to any word, deed, or gesture of a brother that is not beneficial to you. It is better to try in all things to edify yourself, and not to desire ostentation or vainglory in word or deed. Attain freedom in your diet and in your speech, up to the smallest detail. Be aware that if someone is suffering inner torment and afflicted by a certain passionate thought, and puts it in action, the passion is strengthened against him. In other words, he gives the passion power to torment him more. If, on the other hand, he struggles and battles against his thought, exercising the opposite, then, as I have told you many times, the passion becomes weak and powerless in the battle to torment him. Thus, little by little, struggling with the help of God, he overcomes the passion. Letter 6. To the same. Question. Why did Abba Piming say that there are three basic foundations of a spiritual life: the fear of God, prayer to the Lord, and to do good to your neighbor? Reply: the elder spoke of a fear of God, since the fear of God precedes all our virtues. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and nobody achieves virtue or any other good without the fear of God. For by the fear of the Lord one departs from evil. He also spoke about prayer to the Lord, because without the help of God man cannot obtain virtue or any other good, as I have said, even if, having the fear of God, he wants and seeks this. Truly, both our own effort and the help of God are needed. In everything, therefore, man needs to pray and ask for God's help and cooperation. To do good to your neighbor is a fruit of love. The person who has the fear of the Lord and prays to God apparently helps only himself, and since every virtue is fulfilled through love of the neighbor, this is why the elder said to do good to your neighbor. Even if one fears God and prays to him, he is also obliged to be useful to his neighbor and to be good to him. This, as I have said, is the fruit of love, which is the fulfillment of all virtues, as the saintly apostle says.